Every person is born equal, and all lives are equally valuable. A veteran involved in the 1989 Tiananmen Square crackdown shed tears of humiliation, even though his unit did not open fire. 35 years have passed, but this heartbreaking history remains one of the most heavily censored topics on the Chinese internet. Recently, a series of photos claiming to be internal documents from the People's Liberation Army have circulated widely on overseas social media. These documents mention a death toll far exceeding previous official and unofficial estimates, reaching as high as 32,000, along with accompanying images. We must remember these numbers and images. We can never forget them. The internet never forgets, but China's internet cannot remember due to the Chinese Communist Party's information control. The same fate befell a recent video showing a Beijing taxi driver crashing into and killing a police officer at Tiananmen Square. There are numerous such examples. In 1994, China officially connected to the international internet. At that time, the netizens could hardly imagine that in just 30 years, the internet they relied on for information and expressing opinions would become an invisible electronic prison. As early as the Tiananmen period, Mao Zedong set the tone for the CCP's control of speech. After the establishment of the People's Republic of China, many people were persecuted, had their homes raided, and even faced legal consequences for listening to foreign radio stations like Voice of America. Despite this, many brave individuals continue to do so because it was the only way to know the truth. Reflecting on this history, the CCP wasted no time building an electronic Great Wall. After the advent of the internet, in 1996, the CCP launched the Golden Shield project to comprehensively regulate online content. By 2003, the Great Firewall had taken shape and continued to grow. According to the annual report by the US non-profit organization Freedom House, China's internet freedom has ranked last for 10 consecutive years, scoring only 9 out of 100. Before the Great Firewall was fully established in 2003, people could mock the previous Chinese president Jiang Zemin and his mistress on BBS forums, watch videos of Jiang scolding Hong Kong journalists, and even criticize Mao Zedong's glorious deeds. The only downside was that very few people had access to the internet. Otherwise, a massive anti-CCP movement would have been inevitable. Alarmed, the CCP quickly implemented a series of control measures. A decree by then Premier Li Pen forced all units to access the international internet through the Ministry of Post and Telecommunications. By 1998, the Great Firewall was beginning to take shape, blocking IP addresses and polluting DNS. Netizens were shocked when they couldn't access Amazon or Google. The term Great Firewall started to appear frequently in the media, with some humorously calling it the 404 Great Wall. In 2003, the Great Firewall underwent a major upgrade, adding sophisticated keyword filters and DNS pollution. Reliable sources indicate that the Great Firewall was a heavy book of banned books, containing many sensitive terms. Even sending an email or writing a blog post with one of these terms could trigger the censorship mechanism, resulting in blocked access and reset connections. In 2010, Google's honeymoon with the CCP ended, leading to Google's departure and leaving Chinese netizens struggling under the grip of Baidu. The quality of Baidu's search results plummeted, inundated with poor quality ads. All the information seen online was meticulously filtered and filled with false information. It was then that people truly understood the saying, seeing it, not necessarily believing. Internet content censors often receive direct orders from above, mandating the deletion and blocking of all terms related to certain political events. A former internet censor revealed that between 2011 and 2013, the number of sensitive words requiring deletion and blocking increased daily, from a dozen to over 200 directives a day. It is reported that Sina Weibo employed over 1,000 content auditors working in 4 shifts around the clock. They had over 500 review standards strictly scrutinizing all text and images. Simply mentioning the names of a few Politburo Standing Committee members could instantly turn a Weibo post into dangerous content. Terms like June 4th and Ministry of Truth, which mocked the propaganda department, were strictly off limits. A study indicated that between 2013 and 2014, at least 68 million Weibo posts were censored and deleted each week, covering various fields including politics and society. Under such stringent crackdowns, the 50 Cent Party, also known as Wu Mao, thrived, infiltrating major online platforms and small groups, praising the government while framing dissenters as foreign forces. According to a 2017 report by the American Political Science Association, the 50 Cent Party produced approximately 419 million fake comments on social media that year. The numbers were even more staggering in 2021, with Freedom House estimating that the CCP employed about 2 million internet censors, a significant portion of whom were part of the 50 Cent Party. Oxford University research showed that approximately 4.5 million social media posts daily were generated by the 50 Cent Party. This rise in internet control corresponds with an intensifying big data dictatorship. Beijing, through strict control over internet companies, amassed information on billions of citizens, leaving personal privacy almost non-existent. The Cyberspace Administration of China, the Ministry of Public Security, and other departments established a vast cyber police force, ostensibly for maintaining stability, but in reality manipulating public opinion. Deletion orders and silencing directives were ubiquitous, creating an atmosphere of fear and silence. The large cyber police team is responsible for online patrol and public opinion control. Reports indicate that the Cyberspace Administration of China employs nearly 1,000 cyber police officials, with an average age of 32.6 years and 96% holding higher education degrees. Their primary tasks include sending private messages to warn illegal publishers and deleting inappropriate content. Some scholars and observers note that the CCP's control over public opinion and information blockade has reached unprecedented levels, with the scope of taboo topics constantly expanding. Critics argue that Chinese citizens' freedom of speech and access to information are severely curtailed, which is foundational to the CCP regime's rule. Apart from maintaining stability and controlling the populace, another critical function of the CCP's internet control is consolidating central power and weakening local governments. Today, the central government controls over data from Chinese internet companies, preventing local governments from fully manipulating online public opinion. This leads to an interesting phenomenon. When netizens criticize local officials, if the central government does not intervene, they are often left helpless, forced to apologize and admit fault. At first glance, this seems like internet accountability at work, promoting local government transparency. However, the deeper truth is that Beijing can arbitrarily allow or forbid certain discussions using public opinion to target opponents and consolidate power. After the 2011 Wenzhou train crash, the central government selectively allowed criticism on the accident to severely punish Railway Minister Liu Zhijun. During the 2012 Chongqing incident, Bo Xilai also became a target of criticism. However, numerous other scandals and social conflicts involving the elite never received a window of speech. Therefore, in an authoritarian regime, occasional freedom of speech is not a sign of democracy, but another tool of the dictator. The so-called selective openness is a more covert and profound form of public opinion manipulation. In recent years, with the development of AI and big data, the CCP's internet control capabilities have reached new heights. In 2018, ByteDance announced plans to hire 10,000 content auditors in China, coinciding with TikTok's rise as it manually curated eye-catching content. ByteDance currently employs about 20,000 auditors. The content review department at Toutiao, the Chinese news information platform owned by ByteDance, employs tens of thousands of people. This large workforce supplements machine reviews with human oversight. Notably, these content platforms also collaborate with propaganda departments to guide public opinion. Propaganda officials are assigned to communicate instructions via instant messages or phone calls. dictating which content to suppress or highlight. Platforms must comply or face severe penalties. The most common practice is filtering sensitive words. Terms like democracy and human rights are almost non-existent online. Even seemingly neutral words can suddenly become sensitive in certain periods. In 2009, the satirical song of the Grass Mud Horse went viral on YouTube, leading to immediate ban of grass mud horse in China. Grass mud horse in China, colloquial term for alpaca, with AI censorship becoming more sophisticated. Euphemisms like using alpaca for grass mud horse and Winnie the Pooh for Xi Jinping are increasingly hard to slip through. Some netizens have been reprimanded or even detained for digitally altered images of Xi. In December 2019, the COVID-19 outbreak began in Wuhan. In early January 2020, Dr. Li Wenlai from Wuhan tried to warn his colleagues in a WeChat group, but was reprimanded by the police, and his posts were quickly deleted. Citizens, journalists like Fang Bing and Chen Qiuxi live-streamed the situation but were arrested. Meanwhile, official anti-epidemic propaganda flooded the internet, and dissenting voices were swiftly labeled as rumors and silenced. In June 2022, a violent incident at a barbecue restaurant in Tanshan sparked outrage online when surveillance footage was shared. However, authorities quickly deleted the content, citing potential to cause social panic. This only served to fuel more public anger. In 2022, the Wall Street Journal reported that the CCP was collaborating with major tech companies to develop a new surveillance system called Personal Information Protection to collect and analyze citizens' data. In 2023, several high-profile cases of punishment for speech reignited attention. In November, renowned food blogger Wang Gang was accused of insulting Mao for posting a video of making fried rice on Mao's Anying's death anniversary, since it is known that Mao Anying died while making fried rice on the battlefield. In May, stand-up comedian Li Haoshi faced an investigation and a performance ban for using a Chinese military slogan capable of winning battles, exemplary conduct, to praise his pet dogs. It was seen as an insult to the military and police, as Xi Jinping's military goal emphasizes following the party's command is capable of winning battle and has exemplary conduct. Under the shadow of heavy censorship, many Chinese citizens have learned to bypass the Great Firewall using VPNs. In 2017, there were 90 million VPN users in China, and by 2022, the VPN market was worth about 1 billion yuan. Global data predicted that by 2023, the number of VPN users in China would reach 144.9 million. New encryption protocols like ShadowShox and V2Ray with more sophisticated algorithms have made it harder for the firewall to detect them. At the same time, obfuscation technology which disguises VPN traffic as regular HTTP, HTTPS traffic to evade deep packet inspection (DPI) is on the rise. A survey showed that 2/3 of respondents used VPNs almost daily, and 17% used them 1 to 3 times a week. 80% used VPNs to access search engines like Google, 75% to log on to social media like Twitter, 72% to visit foreign news sites, 60% for entertainment sites like YouTube, and 30% for adult websites. The survey also revealed that most netizens learned to bypass a firewall through friends, with 85% having taught others. Over half of the users had less than 3 years of experience, and only 2% had over 9 years. About 60% learned about the internet blockade from blogs or online chats, while 28% found out through search engines regarding internet censorship. 38% believed the government should remove the firewall, and 50% thought transparency in censorship should be improved. Despite this, the government continues to invest heavily in upgrading its censorship system and uses legal means to crack down on VPN usage. In January 2017, the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology issued a regulation prohibiting establishing or using unauthorized VPNs. As a result, many commercial VPNs like Green VPN and VPN Hub ceased services for Chinese users. That year also marked the beginning of enforcement against individual VPN users. Since 2017, at least hundreds of netizens have been imprisoned for using VPNs. The government also implemented a real name registration system requiring citizens to register online accounts with their phone numbers and ID numbers for easier monitoring. Ironically, some beneficiaries of the censorship system bypass the firewall themselves. It's reported that Fang Bingxing, known as the father of Chinese Great Wall, publicly admitted to having 6 VPN tools on his computer. However, this architect of information control rarely reflects on the harm his creation has caused to the public. In April 2024, China plans to expand its internet enforcement. Starting in July, all incoming travelers' electronic devices must be inspected. Although the CCP claims not all devices will be checked, those who have made dissenting comments could face deportation for foreigners or arrest for Chinese citizens. Since 2000, China has become the world's largest electronic prison. Each year, the country spends $6 billion on its internet firewall. It blocks 310,000 global websites like Google, Twitter, BBC, and CNN, leaving citizens exposed only to the CCP's propaganda. Starting 2014, China began hosting the World Internet Conference, promoting the concept of cyber sovereignty and encouraging other nations to adopt its model of internet control, aiming for dominance in cyberspace. While this idea faces widespread opposition in the West, some developing countries are quietly intrigued. Under the Digital Silk Road initiative, China has exported firewall technology to countries like Russia, Iran, Myanmar, and Cambodia. This has led to 1.7 billion people being subjected to anti-American, anti-Japanese, and anti-Taiwan propaganda, fueling continuously global conflicts. If the West ignores this, a digital Iron Curtain could descend once more. Imagine if the CCP leadership decided to upgrade the firewall to a whitelist model, where only specific websites are accessible and everything else is blocked. You might ask, what is a whitelist model? For instance, a blacklist model says you can't access Twitter or Facebook, but everything else is allowed, whereas a whitelist model says you can only access People's Daily and CCTV and nothing else. This will greatly intensify information control. Don't think the state won't come. As early as 2010, Fang Bingxing suggested in an interview with People's Post and telecommunication newspaper agency that mobile internet management could adopt a whitelist model. As a blacklist model lets too much slip through and is difficult to manage, the management of mobile apps is already moving in this direction, making it simpler and more efficient for administrators. If the firewall switches from a blacklist to a whitelist model, severing all international internet access, China will truly become an isolated network with citizens trapped in an information cocoon designed by the CCP, leaving the citizens helpless. Elon Musk's Starlink network, which uses portable terminals to communicate directly with satellites and bypass regional censorship and blockades, poses a challenge for China. The CCP is likely to develop equipment to detect Starlink signals, patrolling streets to track and confiscate satellite dishes and receivers. When this happens, bypassing the Great Firewall will become a luxury, and physical escape might only be the only option left. The CCP's internet tyranny has drawn international attention. The UN and EU have repeatedly called on China to respect internet freedom. Some Western countries have imposed sanctions restricting the export of sensitive technology to China. Chinese Democrats abroad have launched the Tear Down This Wall movement, calling for the tearing down of the Great Firewall, which has been vividly compared to the Cyber Berlin Wall and classifying it as a crime against humanity. Exiled dissident Xiao Qingqing was called on the world's 8 billion people to advocate for dismantling China's internet censorship system. His plans to bring Chinese personnel involved in building and maintaining the firewall to the International Criminal Court in The Hague for their role in creating this electronic prison wall. However, this is still in the proposal stage and no formal charges have been filed yet. Despite the repression both inside and outside China, there are still fighters tirelessly defending internet freedom. Renowned activist Xu Zhiyong uses social media to expose human rights abuses in China, despite repeated harassment and imprisonment, writing books in prison to denounce censorship. The website greatfire.org works to break the firewall, providing tools to help netizens bypass censorship, but faces constant attacks and shutdowns. Dissident Huang Qi continuously exposes human rights issues on Twitter and YouTube. Overseas Chinese scholars and activists used banned platforms like Twitter and Facebook to spread information about censorship and advocate for free speech. Mainland netizens discuss sensitive topics and share blocked content on foreign forums like Reddit. Technologists developed and spread various tools to help domestic users jump the firewall. Over 30 years ago, the fall of the Berlin Wall marked the end of the Cold War, bringing the dawn of ideological liberation to those behind the Iron Curtain. Today, although the invisible wall of China's internet censorship seems indomitable, the tide of freedom is unstoppable. Authorities may delete posts, block websites, and arrest critics, but they cannot silence the voices of billions of netizens. Under the shadow of the Great Firewall, more and more citizens are bravely standing up. They're unafraid of repression, holding fast to their conscience, recording the truth with cameras, spreading justice with words, and defending their rights with actions. It is the awakening of countless ordinary people that will eventually create a tidal wave strong enough to break through the dikes of lies and violence. Years ago, East German chanted, "We are the people." Today, this phrase still resonates powerfully. Truth's strength has never lain in the walls, but in the people. As long as the Chinese people, with the help of freedom-loving individuals worldwide, persistently pursue liberty, the darkness will one day pass. As the 16th US President Abraham Lincoln said, "Those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves, and under a just God cannot long retain it." On that day, when the wall collapses, sunlight will flood the land of China. The Chinese people will become a free China and a free internet.